Hey folks, John Fergusonsmart here. Today I want to talk about how you can save time when you are preparing for manual testing. I mean, we do need to do manual testing. We can't automate everything. We need to do some sort of manual checks, manual verification to make sure that the features look like they're doing okay. In traditional software development, this would come by writing test cases, where we'd look at the requirements and we would write very detailed step-by-step instructions on how to test the requirements. So open this screen, click on this button, enter this value, check that it's this value and so forth. But the problem is writing those test scripts takes a lot of time. It's very time consuming. It's a very slow process. It's really designed for outsourcing. It's designed for giving a detailed list of instructions to someone who doesn't know the application so well, but that you can hand off and get them to testing. That's not really an Agile approach. In Agile, we are embedded in the team and we are trying to work with a feature that we're fairly intimately familiar with because we've seen it from the requirements discovery phase, work right through to when it gets built. So we know what the feature does. And if you compare this idea of writing a very, very detailed test case with detailed steps and detailed instructions, if you can compare it to another industry where checking things is very important, the aviation industry. What I've got here is a handbook for that's a Piper Warrior 28. It's a small light aircraft, a trainer plane. And what I'm going to read to you is some of the checklists. In aviation, checklists are really, really important. You have these lists of things that you need to check before each flight and before you do certain operations. And what I'm going to do is going to read you a few of them. So I've got the internal and pre-start check. So what you do before you start the engine. So what I've got here is number 1, flaps up. Number 2, seats adjusted. Number 3, cabin door closed and latched. Then I've got fuel, check that at least one full tank. Circuit breakers, check all in. Trim, check full and free movement. Radios off. I won't go on with all the details, but the point that what I wanted to make here is that when I read through those instructions, I say the flaps need to be up. The cabin door needs to be closed and latched. I did not say take the cabin door, close the door, put the latch. I did not say go and fill up the fuel tanks or check the level of fuel in the engines or check the fuel gauge or whatever. I don't give the detailed instructions of how to do that. What I've got here are the outcomes, the intent that we want. We want the flaps to be up. We want the door to be latched. And that's how we can do more effective test cases in our software as well. What we can do is we can think in terms of outcomes and intent rather than detailed steps. Now there's another name for that. We call them acceptance criteria. We have acceptance criteria to say what a feature should achieve, what a feature should do, and what are the outcomes we're looking for. And if we define those acceptance criteria at the start in the discovery process, then we don't need test cases. We already have the intent of what we need to do. And then that gets rid of a whole lot of work that we need to do. You no longer need to write test cases for your manual testing. All you need is this intent, and then you can start to get into exploratory testing and more advanced types of testing. So that's my very simple tip today to save you time writing test cases. Don't write test cases. Write acceptance criteria focused on the intent instead, and do it at a very early stage so that when you do get to doing these manual tests, doing this exploratory testing, you can just focus on the interesting stuff and focus on actually exploring the software feature. Thanks, that's all for today, folks.